Well, hello, everyone. My name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at BoldPM, and I want to welcome all of you to tonight's meetup. Tonight's topic is 5 steps to greater product agility. So we're going to be discussing why is product agility on the rise across organizations, and what is it, and what are the steps that where your organization can actually gauge where you're at as far as agility and get to the point where you really need to be as an organization. We'll be discussing all of these things based on multiple studies that have been published in recent years, really tracking everything that's going on across organizations as they're trying to deal with more and more disruption and different competitors and lots of changes in the market that they don't control. So we'll be discussing all of this today. And we're also going to be having a demo, and Matt Hunter, founder of Demand Metric, will be joining us for that demo of the Demand Metric Agile Ops platform. And we really want to thank Matt for being here tonight and eager to see a demo of the platform. And I just want to say hi to Matt. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you very much. And that was a great introduction. I'm looking forward to learning more from the upcoming information and conversation, Hector, and excited to show the group what we have here.
Great. Thanks so much, and thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So what we're going to be covering today is basically trends and challenges that are plaguing product managers and their teams across organizations, and then 5 steps that most organizations are saying, 5 simple steps, simple, right? You're right, to greater product agility. And talk about specifically the tools that have been recently developed and launched into market that help product teams actually become more agile. And we'll be actually doing a demo behind one of these newer platforms tonight. So current situation, what is happening? Well, number one is, what is business agility? Well, if you look at the definition of why organizations are trying to become more agile, is because agility has the promise, as an organization becomes more and more agile, it promises to do all of these things for organizations. Organizations and product teams are able to quickly adjust their strategies on a continuous basis. So you kind of plan and you implement and you readjust as you go. You can make better decisions faster. It also allows organizations to respond much quicker and with more flexibility, make them more adaptable. And it also allows organizations to view changes as a growth opportunity. These are the 4 things, the 4 principles as to why any organization today is furiously trying to boost agility across their entire organization. And this is not just agile for one product, this is scaled agile. And so the bigger your company is, the longer it will take, because we will quickly find out that this is all about business transformation in order to become more agile. And the bigger organizations may take longer because you just have to train everyone in their organization as to how to work in an agile way and how to make decisions different than before, especially when they are more bureaucratic type of organizations. So there's a lot of work in deploying these if you have ever been involved in any kind of transformation process within a company. There are 2 main components to increasing in the way you measure an organization's agility. Agility is composed of 2 different kind of orthogonal factors. How dynamic your practices are, meaning how flexible your responsivity is fast, your speed is fast, and your stability. And stability means that you're high efficiency, high reliability, high quality in everything you do. And these seem to be kind of opposing, right? Because the quicker you become, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be delivering high quality all the time. Often, quality suffers as you try to speed up production, or as you try to do something faster. Sometimes you make errors and then quality drops. So that is the challenge of most organizations, is how to actually increase the speed at the same time that they stay with high reliability, high efficiency on things that they're already doing right. And so this is what we're going to be discussing as far as agility. How do you actually do that? And what are those steps to actually accomplish that? So how agile is your product? What I would like to do is actually would like to launch a poll. And a poll is about telling me, of these 4 different stages of agile, being truly agile, is your organization today in the trapped quadrant? Are you in the startup quadrant? Are you in the bureaucratic quadrant? Are you in the agile quadrant? I'm going to launch this poll and you can respond. And actually, there are 5 choices, and I'm going to read. This is actually pick one of these, and I'm going to give you a few seconds to respond. When you're trapped, you have low efficiency and reliability, and then low responsiveness and speed. So both your stability and your dynamism is low when you're trapped. Bureaucratic, you have high efficiency and reliability, but low responsiveness and speed. You may be stuck in the middle, which means you're medium efficiency and reliability, medium responsiveness and speed. Or you may be a startup, and being a startup doesn't mean that you're in a brand new startup. You're in startup mode, meaning that you have high responsiveness and speed, but low efficiency and reliability because you're doing too many things that are new to everyone, and you don't have enough expertise or experience, and therefore you're making lots of mistakes just because you haven't practiced enough times to get better at what you do. That's startup mode. Or are you fully agile, meaning everyone in your organization delivers high efficiency and reliability, and also high responsiveness and speed? Pick the quadrant that you believe your organization is at today, and then we can discuss what this study that was performed by McKinsey in October of 2017, when they polled CEOs around the world, and their response 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, in the way they responded to this. And it's actually one of the newer type of reports that I found on measuring organizational agility. So I've seen that that you have responded, and the majority of you have picked. It's almost like the audience is divided. 50% are bureaucratic, and the other 50% are stuck in the middle. And no one is agile. And again, no one is in startup mode or trapped, but stuck in the middle and bureaucratic are the 2 most popular, and it's a virtual tie. So let's take a look at how this compares to this particular study and the results. So this was published in October of 2017, and it shows that only 22% of CEOs reported that they have scaled agility throughout their organization. Not a big number, because this includes all sorts of industries and most bigger players, and everybody else is stuck on either the bureaucratic startup mode, meaning it's a brand new business unit, and brand new people, even though they have a larger holding company like Alphabet, you're a brand new business unit within Alphabet, and you're doing brand new things that nobody knows how to execute exactly. So you have high responsiveness and speed, but low efficiency and low reliability. And therefore, you're not able to scale very quickly. When you're trapped, it means that you're low across both your dynamic practices as well as your stability as well. And you need to have high degree of both dynamism and stability in order to be fully agile. And that means that you're not only applying agile to 1 or 2 or 3 products, you're applying agile methods to your entire product portfolio. So we're going to talk about what that means in more discussions. And here's what Gartner published last year: 10 challenges that product managers face post-COVID-19. Have you experienced any of these? We've done several different polls in the last few meetups, and we found that this is impacting all sorts of product managers doesn't matter where they work, right? And it's not just one, but any combination of these. Many of us are experiencing delayed or lost sales revenue, cancellations or lost customers, changing customer needs and priorities almost overnight, changing dynamics in the way we interact with customers, disrupted or canceled product launches, delayed product milestone events, reduced team capacity, new remote collaboration, because everybody now is mostly working remotely or working from home, and then supply chain disruptions that were not predictable, and also changing competitive landscape. And you're seeing either new competitors or even more competitors than before, and it's become a very crowded marketplace. So all of these are sometimes opportunities, sometimes threats, depending on how quickly you're able to come up with a change in strategy to figure out how to turn around what all the negative and overcome any negative business impact because of these things that you didn't anticipate. So all of these things, what are the right conditions for Agile? Well, perhaps the favorable things, if you look at all of these things, innovation, when problems are complex, you're dealing with complex problems, solutions that are unknown, a lot of uncertainty, ambiguity, Agile methods are the best approach to come up with something that you're over time honing in until you figure out exactly where your sweet spot is over some time. And it actually should theoretically help you get something to market very, very quickly compared to typical waterfall or other types of development methodologies, when a lot of this may entail development or integration work that hasn't been done before. And so this is the favorable is right now, the current market conditions actually favor adoption of Agile. And this is why most organizations are fast and furiously trying to become even more agile than before. Post-COVID-19, everyone is trying to accelerate adoption of scaled Agile across their organization. And here are the advantages. These are advantages that were published in a study that was done by PMI. It was published in 2008. And here's all the advantages of Agile methods. You can see 29% in cost reduction, 91% better schedule. Now, what does better schedule mean? Hopefully things are faster than anticipated. Also, 97% better productivity, higher productivity, 50% better quality, 400% better satisfaction. Hopefully this is customer satisfaction they're measuring, not just executive or internal stakeholder satisfaction, because as a product manager, customer satisfaction is a number one thing that you need to understand and make sure that you're measuring constantly, because whatever it is that your executives want to do is not necessarily going to give you a higher customer perceived value. And that's what you're honing. That's what you want the outcome to be that. 470% better ROI. So ROI meaning that whenever you invest, you have a short time to market, you can get to revenue quicker and be able to at least be good enough to start realizing sales. And then you can start then from there improving the products that you're launching into market as quickly as you can. So that's the promise of Agile. What few people know is that scaling Agile is harder than just doing Agile at the product level. And there are 3 layers to actually increasing agility at an organizational level. Scaled Agile means that you not only have to scale across each and every product that matters the most in your delivery, but you are applying Agile methods to in the way you manage your entire portfolio, and that you're able to quickly pivot or quickly change your strategy, adjust your strategy, your business strategy, and then be able to look at all the interdependencies, all the different things that have to be done at the portfolio level and that at the individual product level as well. So any changes from the top down or any changes from the ground up impact the layers. And it's almost like you have this stack of, how do you become agile, which starts with the product level, moving on up to the entire product portfolio, moving on up to the entire organization and the way that it actually plans and then deploys and realizes its strategy. So that's the 3 layers of agility. And here's the definition of each one of these agile layers. Most people start here at the product delivery level and then may get stuck. If you're stuck in the middle, it's because you're not applying all of the agile methods across your entire portfolio today. You're only applying it to some products and not all of your products. And you may not be applying it at the strategic level. Now, if you look at who owns these 3 layers, we'll talk about that, but Steve can probably chime in on his triad hypothesis for product management, and it fits this model. You have some product managers dealing with just nothing but this at the product level only. Other levels of product management dealing with portfolio agility issues, and executives own this, and there's no one necessarily in product management doing this unless you have a VP of product or a chief product officer who's an executive, and they're looking at the product strategy for the entire organization across its entire portfolio. So this is basically how it's divided into product management. Now, I mentioned earlier that increasing either your dynamic process or practices or your stable process practices, you've got to implement transformation plan, change management or transformation plans. And that means that you start with, any transformation plan starts with people first. You got to grow them, you got to train them. And one question is, how many of you that have Agile going on have actually been trained on Agile, the right way of deploying Agile? This is one of the main issues. Many organizations don't train their people, and this is why they struggle to scale Agile, because they may train one team one time and they stop. Also, they don't look for best-in-class tools, and we're going to be highlighting one of those best-in-class tools today that support Agile teams. And the other thing is that they don't do it across their entire portfolio, and all of that means that they're losing out because they're less profitable than the leaders that actually become Agile much quicker, that are able to scale Agile much quicker. So we're going to talk about next the 5 steps. We talked about the current situation. Now we're going to go into 5 steps, very quickly cover the 5 steps for becoming greater, to actually boost your product agility, but also your business agility. This is across all 3 layers that I mentioned earlier. And here's the steps. We're gonna go through them real quick, but I'm gonna give you a deeper dive about each one, but I'm just gonna list them here. Number 1, you wanna scale Agile and Lean implementation and make sure that everyone, all the workers, all your teams actually adopt a culture of Agile and Lean thinking. And then you start planning all of your DevOps. This is our delivery. And then once you do that, product by product, you will quickly expand over time to your entire product portfolio, and then focus on product portfolio agility. Then you look at, by gauging customer perceived value, you're making decisions as to what is that value stream from the point of view of the customers who are buying your products, and making sure that you make agile decisions about how to continue to increase the perceived customer value over time to retain and acquire both, as far as customer acquisition, customer retention. And then finally, you're going to be looking at sensing changes in the market and then seizing opportunities when those changes are in your favor. Figuring out very quickly how to readjust everything that you're doing across all 3 layers to convert changes into opportunities that you can then monetize on very quickly. So let's talk about step 1. Step 1 is scale Agile and Lean implementation as part of delivery. And so is step 2. And step 1 starts with understanding the typical Agile process. Here's the typical Agile process, which is Scrum. It starts with a product backlog, which is a big old list of to-dos. Sprint backlog, which is what the team is going to be working on. Small teams that are highly collaborative, that's a must. And you have a Scrum Master and a product owner, in addition to others that are part of the team. And between the small teams, they're actually doing on a daily basis, define, coding, evaluating, define, coding, evaluating. And then your sprint may be 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, it may range. But once you fix that, your interval, you stay with that, and then you're repeating, and it's an iterative process to the way you would build products. So if you're a product owner, you're working on nothing but product delivery. That's it. That's all you're doing, and you're only doing it for one product out of many products in your company. Product managers will actually start looking at putting and reprioritizing and adding things and changing things on the product backlog, even as the team is already working on a sprint backlog. So here's now when you look at the phase gate approach, this is where it starts. Layer one, product delivery, is all about how you build the product. And this is how teams will do. And it's actually going to be multiple sprints before you can actually have a minimum viable product. So most people will just stop there and maybe do it for 1 or 2 products, a few products, and no more, right? That's only layer one. The next part of layer one is to actually do more planning across your entire portfolio, especially for those products that you're bundling and selling into customer segments. And that is part of delivery as well, doing the planning of the improvement of all the products that multiple customer segments are buying at the same time when you're bundling your products. And these all have to be done concurrent by multiple teams, multiple agile teams working together in the development process. But most people stop there. Here's what I tell most people. Most people don't consider doing agile in just doing concept identification and validation of concepts. This is not the current product. This is for future products that you might move at some point once the market situation or the market conditions are right for you. If you don't explore here, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. And this doesn't take a lot. It maybe takes a few small teams, maybe a few weeks, a year, to be able to understand and explore opportunities that you need to anticipate before things change. Because once you're reacting, you're behind. So the same agile processes you're doing here, you can now implement here. And instead of a product, you're coming up with concepts and you're putting together market needs, market requirements documents, capturing information about voice of the customer, testing concepts, validating concepts, and then putting together a business case before you can go into implementation. At the very least, you're coming up with new product logs. You just don't move into development until it's the right time. So you can start working on your stories, working on concepts, working on product backlogs ahead of time before they're committed for development, before they're funded. It doesn't take a lot of work to do that. And that's part of layer two. Step number 3, portfolio agility, is now to expand across products, current products in market, but then also start planning new products that are going to be launching to market in the near future. All of this needs to be synchronized. And often it means that in some cases, you might need to start still looking at, based on the perceived customer value, that's going to be your trigger as to when do you move and when is the right time to launch the product. Launching a product is not always when your executives tell you to launch. Most organizations that do agile launch, they're actually looking at the prospective customers, and they're looking is it the right time? Is this the right time for us to launch? When is it the right? What are the right market conditions? What are the right triggers from customers' discussions that allows us to know when and how do we launch this product in order for us to very quickly realize lots of revenue and sell a lot of units to our target customers. So often this also includes a lot of testing to make sure that you're launching at the right time. And not always is it always going to be when your executives tell you to launch. Product pruning is also something must, because sometimes most people don't realize that if you want to actually the new way of doing things is going to be much better. You need to let go of the old, the stuff that is not working. And sometimes it's dog products, the loss leaders in your portfolio that need to be pruned off of your portfolio. And sometimes pruning may need to be done ahead of launching a product. This is the lesson that I mostly talk to many executives, because all they do is focus on launch, and no one is doing the pruning in your portfolio. And it is just not rocket science. It's just, you cannot grow your company and become more profitable if you have a lot of waste because you're not pruning your portfolio and you just continue to launch without retiring products that are just not achieving what you thought they would. And you might need to take some time to actually remove all those bad products from your portfolio before you actually launch a new product that actually gets the traction that you need. So all of this is stuff that you got to do as part of steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. The final step is to actually be able to sense changes, because based on you tracking the customer experience and actually measuring perceived customer value, you're making decisions as to what products need to be improved and in what way, and when do you actually make those enhancements available to your customers. And often it means that working across all those 3 layers as you're trying to scale Agile. The one thing that I think is the biggest lesson learned of Agile methods is the invention of Kanban boards to actually manage work being done by cross-functional teams in any organization. So 3 layers, multiple teams, multiple Agile teams. You're not just managing, the organization isn't just managing one board. You're managing many different Kanban boards. And this is the number one thing that I think is a lesson learned that most people are trying to figure out. When they're talking Agile and they're not talking about Agile development, they're talking about using Kanban boards to actually manage the work that has to do with how do we launch the product? Or how do we actually, come up with a problem that we need to solve and test possible solutions and validate the concept before we move it into development. These are all things that you can manage using Kanban boards. Here's an example of a product launch board that has the 5 columns, typical of the backlog of things that need to get done, the sprint backlog that gets prioritized, gets moved into production execution, and then tracks things that are currently in progress, things that are need approval or need review or need testing, any of those, and then things that are moving to complete. And this is a dynamic way of doing this. And in many cases, teams are managing this on a daily basis. And you as a product manager may be coming in this, reviewing this maybe once a week, maybe a few times a month, but you're basically adding to the backlog when you're involved in working with the cross-functional team. Product owners are definitely doing this on a daily basis. Product managers are looking at this not as often, but actually adding or reprioritizing the backlog before it moves into production. So here's the 5 steps once again, highlighting, summarizing, scale, Agile, and lead implementation, do Agile planning and DevOps. This is all part of delivery. Product portfolio agility, make sure you do Agile across your entire portfolio. Then you also move into measuring customer perceived value on an Agile way and use the voice of the customer to make sure that you're making the right decisions at the right time for your portfolio or for specific products in your portfolio. And then you're looking at the strategic side, sensing any market changes or any changes in customer behavior or competition or any of those things. And then you figure out how to quickly readjust your strategy and execution so you can seize opportunities much quicker than your competition. So that's my take for right now. And I think right now we're actually on time. I'd like to now move into the actual demo. I'd like to introduce Matt Hunter, who is founder of Demand Metric. And Matt will walk us through and show us one of these newer tools that is for Agile teams. And it's a web-based application that he's going to be talking to us about, and very excited because I think it's a great tool. And if you're not using it today, you need to at least try it and see how it would work within your organization, especially when you're trying to increase the agility of your product teams within your organization. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Hector. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm not sure if you can pass control so I can share my screen and just flip through. I know I included some slides here. But once again, thank you for this opportunity. It's interesting, I feel like Hector, you were a customer of ours for many, many years, and we have evolved many times as an organization because we've been agile. And I don't think we always were. It was something that was, I think, very much practiced in software development and information technology. Agile has been a big part of our lives at Demand Metric internally for a very long time. So yeah, thank you again for the introduction. And I just want to make it clear that we are not a software company. We didn't mean to or intend to be, and still to this day, we don't think of ourselves as a software company. I think that we are more of a management consulting firm that has training tools, templates, and happen to have a software application. Hector, I can't actually control the slide deck. Do you want to click on the next slide for me?
Yes, actually, I was going to say that you can share your screen, or I can actually just move.
There was only a couple of slides, and then I'll go ahead and share after I'm done. So if you want to go back,
I can do that. Let me go back and share my screen once again.
Thanks.
And there we go.
Perfect. So we are based in Canada. We've been around for 15 years, and the slide will talk about the challenges or that we help solve or problems that we solve and outcomes. But I think that it's important that I give a little bit of a background story on how it is that our organization came to be. My partner and I want to make things again clear. I'm one of the co-founders. I'm not the actual founder. Jesse Hops is our founder and CEO. Him and I, we were working together at a door-to-door sales place when we were about 17 or 18 years old. And after one winter in Canada, as soon as the snow hit, we realized that door-to-door sales were not our thing. And we went to go work for a company called Infotech Research Group. Infotech is a IT analyst firm, a very similar model, but we learned the model of having very practical tools and templates, research based on best practices. And we noticed there to be this very large gap, and there wasn't really anything out there for marketing, product, and sales. And so after 5 years of working in that organization, we decided to branch out on our own and start Demand Metric, and we spent quite a bit of time doing research. Do you want to go to the next slide there, Hector, for me? One more for me. Okay, perfect. So after about 2 years of doing research and slogging it out, we started to understand a little bit more about the problems that reside in these three different functions from product, marketing, and sales. And I'm sure if you take a look just at this list of things, they probably either ring true or look very familiar. I don't think that they're uncommon, but these are really the problems that we try to solve. If you want to go one more slide there, Hector, for me, these are some of the companies that we've worked with over the years. We have about 210,000 subscribers. I would say the majority of them are marketing leaders, product leaders, sales leaders, and as well consultants and agencies. Over the years, we've noticed that there's been quite a few consultants that have been able to leverage a lot of our content and tools and our software to help them grow their practice. But ultimately, from the majority of the members that we work with, we solve problems, but we also help them communicate the value of the work that they're doing internally through our, again, tools, templates, research, training, and our software application. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen now. I think you guys should be able to see. I want to start with the very first one in the research. So about 2 years into Demand Metric, we were found by the American Marketing Association. They reached out, they found one of our assessment tools, and they wanted to license it as a value add to their member base. At the start, we were a little bit concerned. We thought it might potentially cannibalize the opportunity that we had to build a membership-based company, but it turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to us. Immediately, it had added some validity to the research that we were doing on these best practices. And they started to refer a lot of companies to us, and we started to become known as one of the best template sites in the world when it came to, again, product marketing and sales. Fast forward about 5 years, we started to develop training platforms. And once again, we just got lucky. Microsoft was able to find us. They needed a way to train their VAR partners for Microsoft Dynamics. It was a very large deal for us. And essentially, it was kind of the same thing, assessing somebody's maturity and how good they were. And if they scored poorly, walking them through a methodology or a toolkit and training them on best practices and helping them operationalize the best practices internally. About 5 years after that, we started to have some issues with project management internally, right? We were using Basecamp and Trello to manage our product and marketing functions. And we realized that there was no way with the systems that we were using to have cross-project visibility. And so after reading 5,000 reviews on G2 Crowd and a variety of other types of software advice and review sites, we came to the realization that there wasn't a tool out there specifically built for product and marketing teams. And as well, none had the ability to view and filter across multiple projects. So if you're managing multiple products and you're launching multiple products and everyone is at a different stage, there wasn't the right solution. And so we just kind of rolled our sleeves up, took a lot of our best practice research and our tools and built a system that is meant to enable teams to have more visibility and more structure to their product management and product marketing operations. So I guess I could show a couple of different examples here. This is one of the research hubs that we have on our site. We've got different playbooks and toolkits to help organizations ultimately save time. If I think of how we've helped consultants and agencies, they're able to download a lot of our content and rebrand it for their customers, or internally, if you've got a project to again create a product marketing plan or do some value prop analysis. We've created these different exercises in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and our members are able to come here, download our content, rebrand it, and claim they came up with it. I can't count how many times I've had somebody say that we've stopped them from reinventing the wheel, or we've saved them hours of time. But I think most importantly, we make people look really good in front of their peers. We create a consistent way of doing things. The tools themselves, again, there's about 750 of them on the website, and they're all in that format to allow our members to leverage them. When I think about the actual training, we had created Demand Metric University prior to Microsoft, but when Microsoft came on, we saw a very large need to be able to provide not just your typical kind of online learning experience, but more on the practical side of how do you take a set of best practices and train people on how to adopt it to their environment and their culture. And so Demand Metric University has 25 different training courses, from anything like demand generation to product marketing events and so on and so forth. And the idea behind it is that you can not only just, take the actual training, but each training workshop has a series of tools that are meant to be used throughout them. So the end result is not just the learning, but also it could be a framework or a new process of how to do things. The software is where it really comes together. And demand metric project management, Hector, you just mentioned multiple Kanban boards during your demonstration. And I think that it's really important for organizations to have, again, cross-project visibility. If I'm a CEO or a CPO or Chief Product Officer, and I come in on a Monday morning and I want to see what is a top priority across all of these different launches or all of these different products that's assigned to one person, we haven't found a system out there that does that, right? And that was our main frustration with using other tools. So we kind of thought about this for quite some time, and we realized that not only is there not the cross-project visibility, but there's also no pre-built project plans. There are some templates that are out there, but none that have been based off actual best practice research. So we had an opportunity to create essentially a project management system that had pre-baked templates inside of it, similar to the templates that I was just showing. So if I look at, say, Pragmatic's framework here, this is what their framework is on a Kanban board. And when I dive into these individual task cards, I can see that, if you've got to build out by our personas, we've got templates to do it inside of it. Our members are able to switch from a typical Kanban board view to a table, similar to like Monday, or Smart Sheets is another one that we see quite often, even to a calendar or a timeline where you've got individual things that give you a little bit more. Now, this one doesn't have actual dates, but if I were to think about the cross-project visibility right now, if I wanted to see every single task associated with every single product or project that I'm working on, I'm looking at a Kanban board that has essentially every single task that's in the system. You'll see there's 447 matching tasks. If I really want to quickly see what is the top priority, and in this case, due to Bugs Bunny, I can short form this, and now I've got everything that is located as a top priority. And again, it's across different projects. So there is a lot more to learn about this. I think when I somehow to communicate our value proposition, it's very simple for me, but sometimes it can be difficult to understand. We help organizations establish process in an agile manner and then systematize it in an application so that every single time that they're going to launch a product or go to market, that we've got a series of set steps that all need to take place and ways that they can do it. So Hector, I don't know if I'm going to take up my full 20 minutes here. I figured that should give people a little bit of a better understanding. When it comes to the pricing, we're really very reasonable in our ask. We charge a monthly fee of $97 per month to have access to the templates and the application. I know we've created a coupon code that if anybody that is on this call or watching or is interested, they'll get a 50% discount off their first month if they decide to subscribe to the portal. So yeah, that's kind of it for me.
Yes, thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks for this discussion. One of the things that I wanted to find out in the way that some of your customers, clients are using this particular platform, talk about what a typical engagement looks like for you, because I know that you don't just provide them access to the tool. There's several things that happen before that just to make sure that everybody's properly trained. So can you describe what that experience is
Sure.
like?
Yeah. Usually, I would say starts with some type of discovery or an assessment where we can understand not just their key challenges, but how it is that they're currently operating, what systems they use. We find that a lot of companies are still using Microsoft Excel and SharePoint or PowerPoint for both strategy and launch. We get to understand a little bit more about the team, how agile they are or agile they want to be. Once we have a baseline established, we'll start to take whatever data they have inside of their processes, whether it reside in Excel or in a lot of cases in other systems that don't have that cross-project visibility that they need, and we'll mock it up in our system. Once we get their data in the platform, we have a really good understanding of where we can start to see some of the inefficiencies. I think with a lot of other software applications, where they fall apart is everybody uses them differently. So one of our key goals is to create a standard operating procedure on the actual software itself, but also augment their current process with some of our tools and templates, and as well some of the content assets or artifacts that they currently use, whether it be for prioritization or like market requirements. It doesn't really matter. Whatever they currently use, there's probably some stuff that's incredibly valuable. So we kind of take their stuff and our stuff, we mash it together to get a proper framework in how to manage the life cycle of a product or go to market. Once we have that established in the system, we start to train people on the agile principles, how to do prioritization, and start practicing some of the rituals like daily stand-ups or running on sprints. And then from there, it's more or less just keeping a very close eye on it and supporting them the way that they need to. So some organizations are very quick and move fast, and some it takes a couple of months. So yeah.
Sounds good. One other question that I have is, you mentioned that you don't consider yourself like a software vendor, but I mean, this particular tool was recently featured as a leading software tool for agile marketing teams on G2. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I think if you were to compare just a software alone with other software out there, I think there's other options, and we can't classify ourselves as that, right? That's not really what we're set out to do. We're on a mission to help organizations become more agile and more effective when it comes to their sales, marketing, and product process and strategy. And the software is one component. We've worked with other organizations where they can't use our technologies just simply because of the IT requirements, and it takes sometimes vendors 2 to 3 years to get in there. And in that case, we can still support them and have done so many ways through their system that they use currently. So, okay.
And what about what kind of tasks do teams get involved with? When actually using your platform and with teams, what kind of tasks are they actually doing?
Do you mean task level inside of the system?
Yeah, like I spoke about in my presentation, if you looked at, there were some things that, people are tracking like development projects, right? For a specific product or a set of products. That's one way of using, the tool. But, basically, you can actually use them also to test, do problem identification, do business case, and do concept development and validation, estimation and forecasting of revenue, those things that actually precede development. Is anybody using it on the concept stage, or just basically putting together like business cases when teams are involved in putting together these documents?
Yeah, I think every organization is different, and I think some companies operate in I would say Agile, if that makes any sense, where it's almost like a hybrid between waterfall and agile. And in that case, we see a lot more rigor up front and some of the more traditional ways of project management. And in that case, they are some of the tasks that we see are much different than companies that are full out agile. But our system is incredibly customizable. You can create custom fields to track things like forecasting budgets or set up proxies for bandwidth and resources. So I think most systems do that. I think ours does too.
Okay, perfect. And just wanted to ask the audience, if you have any questions, type them into the chat, or you can actually, at this point, we're formally entering the Q&A. We have a few minutes, and let us know if you have any questions for either Matt or myself. And you can either come in via audio, or you can also type in your questions via the chat. And I'm monitoring to see, I don't think I missed anything. Just to give you some clarification also, I've shared the link. Matt has been kind enough to give us a link to offer us a free trial of their platform. And actually that gives you access to any of the toolkits you referred to earlier, and also templates, in addition to guides and some market reports that they've also published over time. And all of that is available on a subscription basis. But with the free trial, you get access to at least be able to find what you need and see the variety of information and documents and templates that you can find to see, whether or not you want to actually turn on a paid plan. And he's also provided us a coupon code for us that gives you 50% off of the first month if you want to actually move into the pro plan. And maybe Matt, you can talk about, typically what you see when people do, subscribe. What do they see? What do you guys do on an ongoing basis as far as adding new toolkits or new templates?
Sure.
Talk about how you support your customers.
Yeah, I think it's funny. When we started to work closely with the American Marketing Association, we also work closely with the ANA, and they are requesting playbooks and toolkits very frequently. And with the changes that have happened in marketing, it has forced us to stay on top of the content and do refreshes and revisions. So we try hard to add new content and research specifically. I think at one point we were putting out 20 to 30 different benchmark reports and studies each and every single year. So we are constantly adding. When members subscribe, we try to do a very good job at being able to welcome them to the community and help them understand where it is that they can get value. We typically like to book orientation calls with people that are looking to engage and understand more. I think the more that we know about what somebody's trying to accomplish, the better we are at supporting them. And there's a lot of content and tools on our site. It can be like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes, and we don't want people to be overwhelmed. So if anybody has questions about the tools or wants to learn more, even before subscribing, I'm more than happy to have another conversation offline to help understand what you're trying to accomplish and whether or not we've got the right resources to help support you.
Say, Matt. This is Lori Wiggins. Thank you for that presentation. That was very illuminating. Wonderful. And I'm seeing that certainly your capabilities can be used across many industries. Are there industries where your capabilities are particularly helpful?
That's a really good question, and it's one that we've battled with as me and the other two partners here, whether or not we start to get industry specific because of the unique challenges. What I can tell you is that we find in industrial manufacturing, healthcare, they tend to be a little bit more laggard when it comes to adopting best practices. And those are the organizations or types of industries that I find can get up to speed really quickly and we can make a big impact on. I find that software and tech are really good. They grow really fast, but sometimes they grow so quickly that they didn't document what helped them grow. And so they're in a position now where they maybe haven't stopped growing, but they need to implement process and structure to their organization, whether they've been acquired or by a PE firm that needs to see it, or they're looking for funding. They don't want to look like they've just done things magically. And so, Lori, I hope that answers your question. It's something that we haven't really targeted industry specifics, but we've thought about it many times.
Yes, that did. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And talk about typically what the pro plan includes compared to like the basic plan.
Sure. So our pro plan is $97 a month, and it includes up to 5 downloads of our premium content. That is anything in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. It also includes access to the actual platform itself, where you can create tasks, projects, and build out workflows. That is for one user. Our team membership is $297 a month and includes access for up to 10 people, and it's unlimited downloads to all of the premium type content that we have on our site. The next level up, again, it's just for more users and a higher price point. These are all do-it-yourself type memberships that are self-service, right? Where I think that we tend to provide the most amount of value is when organizations are looking to go deeper. They'll typically find us through a playbook or a framework. They'll have a need to transform their marketing, product, and sales operations. And we're able to quickly get them up to speed with sound best practices that are operationalized in the system. And those types of engagements, they're between 5 and 10K a month.
Okay, perfect. No, this is great. Thank you so much for this. I wanted, as we're waiting for more questions, I just want to go into some additional announcements. So I'm going to go back and sharing my screen, going back to the deck. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be providing a post-event link where you can view all of this information, where the video, in addition to the slides that we're showing, and that includes the slides from that Matt provided. But also you'll be able to see, of course, the demo of the tool. And if you're interested in a demo, a more in-depth demo of the tool, because your organization may be interested in actually turning it on for a few teams or one team, whatever it is, what your needs are, you can feel free to reach out to Matt, and his contact information I've shared earlier on the chat. But also, I think, Matt, if you can just include that information, it will also include it on the post-event page, but I just share it via the chat as well.
Yeah.
And as we're waiting for more announcements, recently I launched the BoldPM Academy. It's actually a series of live online workshops, instructor-led workshops, usually about 2 hours long. And you can get more information about upcoming workshops, April, May, and it's going to be scheduling the rest of 2021. And this is actually specifically tasks that are typically being led or done by product managers, product marketing managers, or anyone that is in a product function working with one or multiple product teams. For more information, you can go to the short URL at the bottom of this, and we're also going to be sharing this URL via the chat, and it's also in the post-event page as well. Here's the webinar that I spoke about earlier that's coming up. It's free to attend, and I'll be sharing a link also where you can actually sign up for this one. The topic is Product Management in the Age of Disruption. That is next Thursday, a week from today, and it's actually hosted by the great IT professional. And also, these are some of the upcoming workshops that are coming later this month from the BoldPM Academy. If you want to become great at team building, and I mentioned team building is one of the things that you're doing when you're actually starting an agile team for a new project or a new task, whether it's a development task or some other task that involves cross-functional teams. Team building is a great skill, a leadership skill to acquire. And we're going to go through all the ABCs of team formation and all the different stages in this particular workshop, and it's coming up later this month. We're going to be sharing a link where you can view this entire set of upcoming workshops. Also, this is another meetup that I'm actually running. It's coming up in May. We actually have a hyper automation firm that actually helps other companies and actually implement solutions that involve hyper automation. We're doing a meetup where they're actually sponsoring this one. Is brought to you by Mind Over Machines. This company actually puts together automation solutions for different types of companies, and they work with all sorts of different organizations, from financial services all the way out to also construction and a few others, when they're trying to fully automate some of these tasks that are hard for humans to perform, so they can actually become more efficient. And they're talking about specifically collaboration robots and how sometimes your business processes as you're trying to automate might need to be tweaked a little bit in order for automation to really, in order for the organization to really see the benefits of automation. And what it ends up being is that humans are still involved. You're not replacing humans. What you're doing is you're making robots more efficiently work at things that are just repetitive, where human error can come in because it's just repetitive tasks that don't require very much thought. And then you leave all the thinking to the humans, and that's what they're going to be talking about at this particular meetup. The information is already posted, and you're going to get a link where you can actually sign up for this coming up in May. And another workshop that's coming up in May, this is actually also for those of you who are looking to do some personality types of your team members as you're trying to, whether you're in team formation when you're building a brand new product team, or if you're actually bringing on board a new member to an already existing team, and you're trying to figure out whether or not that person is going to fit in. This is going to be using the performance index, which is an assessment you can do to figure out the temperament and the personality types of your current team members, and then also look at the gaps of the team based on the tasks that they're performing, and figure out how you can actually bring in the right person that has the right personality and the right temperament style that fits your team, or that you're trying to build a new team. So team formation is aided by this particular assessment that allows you to start looking at what are the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and how do you actually bring in the right people to make sure that everybody gets along and everybody is productive working collaboratively. And if you are looking to boost the agility of your product within your organization, or you're trying to figure out how to boost the business agility of within your organization as a product professional, reach out to me. We can set up a discovery call. We can chat about your current situation, what you guys are doing, and maybe I can give you some tips. No pressure. We can just kind of talk about where you're at. And if you need help, we can always figure out, how we can help you in actually increasing your product agility. You can reach out to me via email, and my email is here. I've also shared it earlier, also via the chat. And at BoldPM, we inspire the next generation of product leaders to turn ideas into valuable, profitable products. And we help executives grow high-performing product teams, and also help senior managers build growth engine within their organization. And if you need any help, reach out to me. Here's our contact information. We shared this earlier also via the chat. So if you can reach out to either Matt or myself, here's our contact information. You can either contact us via email. You can connect with us on LinkedIn. These are the short URLs to our LinkedIn profiles. And also you can follow us on Twitter as well. And I'm trying to find out if there's any more questions. So I would just want to, I don't see any more questions. So I think that I just want to wrap up. And Matt, once again, I want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for a great demo. And, we'll be in touch, and hopefully we can maybe bring you back for some specific use cases that I have in mind from this particular discussion. I know it takes a while for us to set these things up, but maybe we can do that later on in the year as a follow-up. And I have some of these scenarios that I spoke about earlier that I think apply, and I think your tool will be a great, it will be a great application and use case. Maybe we can showcase sometime in the near future.
Yeah, thanks very much, Hector. I appreciate you having me, and wish everybody the best of luck.
All right, and thank you so much. And audience, thanks so much for joining us. And once again, you will get a link where you can view the slides, the video, everything, and that'll be within the next few hours or so. So be on the lookout for that. And if you have any questions, reach out to both Matt and myself. There'll be information as to how you can contact us directly from that page in case you need, or if you have any follow-up questions. I want to thank you once again, and we hope to see you again for our next meetup next month. Thank you so much, and have a great week. Stay safe.